The Galactic Concordat had made their decision 3 cycles ago. Humanity was to be contained, their expansion halted, their colonies isolated. What the 14 species of the Concordat hadn't anticipated was that containing humans was like trying to hold lightning in a bottle. Eventually, something was going to give. Commander Sarah Chun stared at the tactical display aboard the derelict mining station Prometheus 7, watching as Concordat ships established their blockade around the Sol system. The station had been abandoned for 2 years, officially decommissioned and forgotten in the bureaucratic shuffle that followed the trade sanctions. Unofficially, it had become home to 43 of humanity's brightest engineers, scientists, and a handful of military personnel who refused to accept surrender. "Ma'am, we're receiving another demand for our unconditional surrender," reported Lieutenant Torres, his fingers dancing across the communications console. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." Sean allowed herself a bitter smile. The Concordat spoke of containment, of bringing peace to a warlike species. They cited human aggression, pointing to the rapid expansion across 17 star systems in less than a century. What they didn't understand was that humans didn't expand out of aggression. They expanded out of curiosity, out of an unquenchable thirst to see what lay beyond the next hill, the next star. Marcus Webb approached from the engineering section, his usually pristine lab coat stained with coolant and neural interface fluid. "Sarah, we've had a breakthrough. The quantum entanglement array is responding better than we hoped. The modifications to the Heisenberg compensators have increased our range by 300%. How much time do we need?" Chun asked, studying the approaching Concordat fleet on her display. 14 capital ships, each one capable of glossing a planet, were moving into position around their little station. 6 hours for full calibration. "Maybe 4 if Martinez's neural integration holds," Webb replied, wiping his hands on a stained rag. "The human brain's pattern recognition capabilities are proving far superior to any AI we've encountered. It's like our neural pathways were designed for this kind of quantum processing." Chun nodded grimly. The irony wasn't lost on her. The same pattern recognition that had allowed humans to track prey across vast savannas, to read weather patterns and navigate by stars, was now being used to revolutionize faster-than-light communication. While the Concordat had relied on their advanced technology and rigid thinking, humans had learned to blend intuition with science, creating solutions that defied conventional logic. The station shuddered as a Concordat scanning beam swept across their hull. Chun could almost feel the alien minds behind those sensors, confident in their technological superiority, certain that the primitive humans aboard this derelict station posed no threat to their overwhelming force. "Lieutenant Torres, open a channel to Earth Command," Sean ordered. "It's time to let them know that reports of humanity's death have been greatly exaggerated." Admiral Voss of the Thickeron Fifth Fleet stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Inevitable Dawn, his 4 arms crossed in what his species considered a gesture of supreme confidence. The human resistance had been amusing at first, their small raids on supply convoys, their desperate attempts to break through the blockades. But this final stronghold, this pathetic mining station, would mark the end of human defiance. "Admiral, the humans are attempting to establish communications with their homeworld," reported Sub-Commander Nix, her serpentine form coiled around the sensor station. "Their transmissions are being jammed as per protocol." Voss's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. The Concordat strategy had been flawless. Isolate each human colony, prevent coordination, and systematically dismantle their ability to resist. Humans were dangerous when unified, but separated and confused. They became just another conquered species to be managed and controlled. "Time to boarding operation?" Voss inquired, his main eyes focusing on the tactical display, while his auxiliary eyes monitored the status reports flowing across multiple screens. 30 minutes until the assault shuttles reach optimal position," replied the tactical officer. "The humans have made no attempt to flee, which suggests they may be preparing to surrender." Moss doubted that. In the 3 cycles since the containment began, he had learned that humans rarely surrendered, even when facing impossible odds. It was a trait that the Concordat found both admirable and deeply troubling. A species that refused to acknowledge defeat was difficult to manage in the long term. Back aboard Prometheus 7, Sean watched as her team made final preparations. The quantum entanglement array hummed with barely contained energy. its crystalline matrices glowing with an eerie blue light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with the human heartbeats in the room. Martinez, their lead neural interface specialist, was connected to the system through a dozen fiber optic cables. His consciousness merged with the quantum processing core. "Sarah, we're getting feedback from the outer colonies," Martinez reported, his voice carrying an odd harmonic resonance from his neural link. "The signals are ... different, stronger. It's like every human mind we connect to amplifies the network." Dr. Webb looked up from his calculations, excitement gleaming in his eyes. "That's impossible, according to Concordat physics. Quantum entanglement doesn't work that way. Consciousness shouldn't be able to affect quantum states at this scale." "Tell that to the readings," Martinez laughed, though the sound was distorted through his neural interface. "I'm seeing patterns in the quantum foam that match human brainwave signatures. It's like our species has some kind of natural quantum resonance that their models never accounted." 4. Chun felt a chill run down her spine, not from fear, but from the sudden realization of what they had discovered. The Concordat had studied human technology, human weapons, human tactics, but they had never truly studied human consciousness, dismissing it as just another biological phenomenon to be cataloged and controlled. "How long until the network is fully operational?" she asked, watching as the Concordat fleet moved into final attack position. 2 minutes, Martinez replied. "And Sarah, when this goes live, every human in the galaxy is going to hear us. Every single one." The implications hit Chun like a physical blow. Not just communication, true unity. Every human colony, every trapped ship, every individual who had refused to surrender would suddenly be connected, sharing thoughts, strategies, and determination across impossible distances. The Concordat was about to learn why containing humanity was impossible. The moment the quantum network activated, Admiral Voss felt something change in the fabric of space around them. His ship's sensors, calibrated to detect the slightest anomalies in subspace, began registering readings that defied every principle of physics the Concordat had established over millennia. "Admiral, we're detecting massive quantum fluctuations emanating from the human station," Subcommander Nix reported, her voice carrying an edge of concern that Voss had never heard before. "The patterns are ... organized, almost like a language." Voss studied the data streams flowing across his displays. The quantum signatures were unlike anything in the Concordat databases. Chaotic yet structured, random yet purposeful. It reminded him of the human military strategies they had encountered, seemingly illogical approaches that somehow achieved impossible results. Aboard Prometheus 7, Martinez's consciousness expanded across the galaxy in ways that human language couldn't adequately describe. Through the quantum entanglement network, he touched the minds of humans on distant worlds, miners on Kepler 442b, who had been cut off from supply lines for months, soldiers on the frontier world of New Sparta who were preparing for a last stand, scientists on research stations who had been developing weapons in secret. "I can see them all," Martinez whispered, tears streaming down his face. "Every human who refused to give up, every colony that kept fighting. Sarah, there are millions of us still out there, still resisting." Dr. Webb monitored the quantum cascade reactions with growing amazement. The human neural patterns weren't just communicating through the network. They were amplifying each other, creating resonance effects that boosted the signal strength exponentially. Each human mind added to the collective processing power, turning what should have been a simple communication system into something resembling a distributed quantum computer of unprecedented capability. "The Concordat jamming fields are completely ineffective," Webb reported with undisguised glee. "Our signals are propagating through quantum foam itself. They can't jam quantum entanglement without disrupting the fundamental forces that hold their ships together." Commander Chun felt the network's influence as a warm presence at the edge of her consciousness. She could sense the determination of humans across 17 star systems, feel their shared refusal to surrender, experience their collective ingenuity as thousands of minds began working in unprecedented coordination. "Martinez, can you coordinate simultaneous actions across all connected colonies?" she asked, formulating a plan that would have been impossible minutes earlier. "Already happening," Martinez replied, his voice now carrying harmonic overtones from dozens of connected minds. "Every human engineer, every soldier, Every scientist is sharing their knowledge in real time. We're designing countermeasures for Concordat weapon systems faster than their computers can adapt. The first sign of the network's true power came when the human colony on Tau Ceti began broadcasting technical specifications for upgraded plasma weapons directly into the minds of defenders on 6 other worlds. Within minutes, identical weapon modifications were being implemented across light years of space, as if guided by a single vast intelligence. Admiral Voss watched his tactical displays with growing alarm as human resistance forces across the galaxy began exhibiting perfect coordination. Ships that had been running silent suddenly emerged from asteroid fields in synchronized attacks. Ground forces that had been scattered and demoralized began executing complex maneuvers with precision that suggested impossible levels of communication. Sir, the humans on 17 different worlds just launched simultaneous counterattacks, reported his tactical officer, mandibles clicking in distress. Their timing is perfect, down to the nanosecond. This level of coordination should be impossible given our communication jamming. The true horror of the situation became clear when Voss realized that the humans weren't just sharing tactical information, they were sharing consciousness itself. Each human mind connected to the network retained its individuality while simultaneously contributing to a collective intelligence that grew stronger with every new connection. On the frontier world of New Sparta, Captain Liu received weapon schematics directly from the mind of Dr. Sarah Kim on the research station orbiting Wolf 359. The knowledge didn't arrive as data to be processed. It manifested as if Liu had personally spent years developing the technology herself. Within an hour, New Sparta's defenders were fielding energy weapons that could punch through Concordat shields like paper. "This is impossible," Sub-Commander Nix hissed, her serpentine form coiling tighter around her station. Individual biological minds cannot form quantum-coherent networks. It violates the fundamental principles of consciousness-matter interaction. Voss studied the readings with growing dread. The Concordat had spent 3 cycles containing humanity based on the assumption that they were dealing with a standard carbon-based intelligence. Clever, perhaps, but ultimately limited by the speed of light and the physical constraints of neural processing. They had never considered that human consciousness might operate on quantum principles, that human intuition might be a manifestation of quantum entanglement occurring naturally within biological neural networks. Dr. Webb's research team aboard Prometheus 7 was discovering the same thing from the other side. "Sarah, the quantum resonance patterns are matching historical data on human innovation," he reported excitedly. Every major breakthrough in human history, from the development of agriculture to the invention of faster-than-light travel, shows similar quantum signatures. It's like our species has always been unconsciously connected at a quantum level. Commander Chun felt the network's collective realization wash over her consciousness. Humanity hadn't just stumbled upon quantum networking technology. They had inadvertently created a technological framework that amplified their species' natural quantum consciousness. Every human connected to the network was now operating at a level of intelligence and coordination that individual biological minds shouldn't be capable of achieving. The implications were staggering. The Concordat had tried to contain humanity by isolating their colonies and preventing communication. But human consciousness itself operated on quantum principles that transcended normal space-time limitations. They hadn't just failed to contain humanity, they had forced humanity to discover their true potential as a quantum-coherent species. Admiral Voss, Chun's voice suddenly filled the bridge of the inevitable dawn, transmitted through quantum entanglement directly to their communication systems despite all jamming efforts. "I believe it's time we discussed the terms of your surrender." The silence on the Concordat bridge was absolute. A human, aboard a derelict mining station, surrounded by the most powerful fleet in the galaxy, was demanding their surrender. The audacity would have been laughable if not for the readings flowing across their displays, readings that showed perfectly. Coordinated human resistance forces emerging from hiding across 17 star systems. "How are you penetrating our communication shields?" Voss demanded, his forearms gesturing frantically at his communications officer. "Admiral," Chun's voice carried a note of genuine sympathy, "your shields are designed to block electromagnetic and subspace communications. Human consciousness operates on quantum principles that your technology cannot interact with, much less control. Every human in the galaxy is now connected through quantum entanglement. We are no longer separate colonies that can be isolated and contained. We are a single, distributed intelligence operating across interstellar distances. Martinez's voice joined Chun's, speaking through the quantum network from his neural interface. The modifications you forced us to develop didn't just improve our communication technology. They revealed that human consciousness itself is quantum coherent. Every breakthrough, every innovation, every moment of inspiration in human history has been the result of quantum processing occurring naturally in human neural networks. As if to demonstrate their point, human forces across the galaxy began implementing identical tactical maneuvers simultaneously, their actions coordinated by shared consciousness rather than traditional command structures. Concordat fleets that had maintained perfect containment for 3 cycles suddenly found themselves facing opponents who could predict their moves, counter their strategies, and adapt to their weapons in real time. The age of human containment was over. The age of human ascension had begun. Admiral Voss's tactical displays painted a picture that defied every strategic principle the Concordat had developed. Over 1,000 years of galactic dominance, human resistance cells across 17 star systems were operating with perfect synchronization, their actions coordinated not by traditional command structures, but by shared consciousness itself. Status report, Voss commanded, his forearms working frantically across multiple control surfaces as he tried to process the cascade of incoming data. Sir, human forces on Kepler 442b have somehow developed gravitational manipulation technology overnight, reported the tactical officer, his voice carrying disbelief. They're using localized gravity wells to trap our patrol ships. The technology appears identical to modifications being implemented simultaneously on 11 other worlds. Sub-Commander Nix's serpentine form trembled as she studied the sensor readings. Admiral, it's worse than we thought. The quantum network isn't just allowing them to share information. They're sharing actual expertise and muscle memory. A mining engineer on one world is somehow gaining the combat experience of a soldier on another world. Instantly, aboard Prometheus 7, Martinez experienced the network's expanding consciousness as a symphony of human potential. Through quantum entanglement, he felt the determination of Dr. Elena Vasquez as she perfected plasma weapon designs on the research station orbiting Proxima Centauri. He shared the tactical insights of Colonel James Harrison as he coordinated defensive positions on the frontier world of Kepler 186f. Most remarkably, he experienced the innovative thinking of thousands of human engineers, scientists, and soldiers as they collaborated across impossible distances. Sarah, the network is evolving faster than we anticipated, Martinez reported, his voice now carrying harmonic resonances from hundreds of connected minds. Human consciousness isn't just quantum coherent, it's quantum enhanced. Each connection amplifies cognitive processing power exponentially. Dr. Webb studied the cascade of innovations flowing through the network with scientific fascination, tinged by existential awe. We're witnessing the birth of a new form of consciousness, he whispered. Individual human minds maintaining their identity while simultaneously participating in a collective intelligence that transcends physical limitations. Commander, Chun felt the network's collective realization as human colonies across the galaxy began understanding their true situation. The Concordat hadn't just tried to contain humanity, they had inadvertently triggered an evolutionary leap that would redefine what it meant to be human. Admiral Voss, Chun transmitted through quantum entanglement, her voice reaching the Thecaron commander, despite every jamming field and shield his fleet could deploy. Your Concordat based their containment strategy on a fundamental misunderstanding of human nature. You saw our rapid expansion and assumed it was driven by aggression. You witnessed our technological development and dismissed it as primitive innovation. You observed our refusal to surrender and interpreted it as stubborn defiance. The quantum network carried Chun's words to every human consciousness connected to the system, creating a unified voice that spoke with the authority of an entire species. What you failed to understand is that humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to adapt, to innovate, to find solutions that transcend apparent limitations. You thought you could contain us by isolating our colonies. Instead, you forced us to discover that human consciousness itself operates beyond the constraints of normal spacetime. On the frontier world of New Sparta, Captain Liu felt the network's shared tactical awareness as she coordinated defenses against the Concordat siege fleet. Through quantum entanglement, she possessed the combined military experience of every human soldier in the galaxy. Their strategies and insights flowing through her consciousness like water through a river. Concordat forces approaching Vector 77 Alpha, she transmitted to her defenders through both traditional radio and the quantum network simultaneously. Implementing Morrison Defensive Pattern Omega. All units synchronize on my mark. The Morrison Defensive Pattern Omega hadn't existed an hour earlier. It was the product of collaborative tactical innovation shared across 17 star systems, developed by hundreds of human minds working in quantum coherent harmony. Every human soldier in the galaxy now understood the pattern as if they had trained in it for years. The Concordat had encountered many species during their expansion across the galaxy. They had faced technologically advanced civilizations, militaristic cultures, and even hive minds that operated through collective consciousness. But they had never encountered a species that could maintain individual identity while simultaneously sharing collective intelligence through quantum entanglement. Admiral, we're receiving reports from all containment fleets, Subcommander Nix reported, her voice tight with barely controlled panic. Human resistance forces are implementing identical countermeasures against our weapon systems across multiple star systems. They're adapting to our tactics faster than our computers can calculate new strategies. Admiral Voss studied the tactical display with growing dread. The humans weren't just communicating through quantum entanglement. They were sharing actual consciousness, creating a distributed intelligence that spanned interstellar distances. Every tactical mistake his fleet made was instantly analyzed by thousands of human minds and countered simultaneously across the galaxy. Sir, the humans on 17 worlds are requesting communication, reported the communications officer. They're somehow broadcasting through our quantum shields using principles our physics models say are impossible. Dr. Webb aboard Prometheus 7 was experiencing the same impossible physics from the other side. The quantum entanglement network is exhibiting properties that shouldn't exist, he reported to Chun with excitement and scientific fascination. Human neural patterns are creating quantum coherence effects that amplify across vast distances. It's as if our consciousness naturally operates on quantum principles that we never understood. Martinez, still connected to the network through his neural interface, felt the collective human experience flowing through his consciousness like a river of shared knowledge. Sarah, I can feel every human who's connected to the network. Their experiences, their skills, their determination. It's all shared instantly across quantum space. We're not just communicating, we're becoming something new, Commander. Chun felt the weight of species-wide responsibility as the network's collective consciousness looked to her for leadership. Through quantum entanglement, she could sense the hopes and fears of millions of humans across 17 star systems, all connected through a form of consciousness that transcended individual limitations. Admiral Voss, she transmitted, her words carried by quantum entanglement to every Concordat ship in the galaxy simultaneously. I'm going to explain why your containment strategy was doomed from the beginning. The Concordat sees species as separate entities that can be managed through isolation and control. But humanity has always been more than the sum of its individual parts. The network amplified Chun's voice with the authority of collective human consciousness. Every innovation in human history, from our first tools to our development of faster-than-light travel, has been the result of collaborative thinking that transcends individual limitations. What you dismissed as primitive resourcefulness was actually quantum coherent consciousness operating at levels your technology cannot detect or understand. Through the quantum network, human colonies began implementing defense strategies that utilized their newfound collective intelligence. On Tau Ceti, mining operations were converted to weapons manufacturing using designs shared instantly from 17 different worlds. On Wolf 359, research stations began producing energy shields based on theoretical physics developed by scientists who had never met but were now sharing consciousness through quantum entanglement. The Concordat containment strategy was based on preventing communication between human colonies, Chen continued, her words reaching every Concordat commander simultaneously. But human consciousness operates on quantum principles that make traditional communication unnecessary. Every human connected to this network now possesses the combined knowledge, experience, and determination of our entire species. Admiral Voss realized with growing horror that the Concordat hadn't just failed to contain humanity, they had inadvertently triggered an evolutionary leap that would forever change the balance of power in the galaxy. The species they had tried to isolate and control had become something unprecedented, a quantum-coherent collective intelligence that maintained individual identity while operating with unified purpose across interstellar distances. The age of Concordat dominance was ending, and humanity was just beginning to understand what it meant to be truly united. The quantum network's influence spread beyond military coordination as human colonies across the galaxy began experiencing unprecedented technological breakthroughs. On the research station orbiting Proxima Centauri, Dr. Elena Vasquez felt her consciousness merge with that of theoretical physicist Dr. Chun Wei from the Kepler 442b mining facility. Their combined understanding of quantum mechanics and practical engineering created insights that neither could have achieved alone. The applications are limitless, Vasquez transmitted through the network to every human scientist simultaneously. Quantum coherent consciousness allows us to process complex mathematical relationships at speeds that surpass any artificial intelligence the Concordat has developed. Admiral Voss watched his tactical displays with mounting desperation as human forces began deploying technologies that violated fundamental laws of physics. Ships that had been trapped in Concordat containment fields were suddenly phasing through solid matter using quantum tunneling techniques that should have been impossible to implement on a macroscopic scale. "Sir, the human vessels are exhibiting quantum properties," reported his science officer, her multiple eyes blinking in patterns that indicated extreme distress. "They're treating their ships as if they were subatomic particles, tunneling through our energy barriers, using principles that our models say cannot work at this scale." Sub-Commander Nix studied the sensor readings with growing unease. "Admiral, it's not just their technology that's changed. The quantum signatures from human neural activity are unlike anything we've encountered. Their consciousness appears to be operating on multiple quantum states simultaneously." Martinez aboard Prometheus 7 experienced the network's evolution as waves of shared understanding that transcended individual comprehension. Through quantum entanglement, he felt the collective realization as millions of human minds began processing information in ways that biological neural networks shouldn't be capable of achieving. "Sarah, the network isn't just connecting us, it's transforming us," Martinez reported, his voice now carrying harmonics from thousands of connected consciousness. "Human neural patterns are achieving quantum superposition. We're beginning to think in ways that exist between classical logic and quantum probability." Dr. Webb monitored the cascade of scientific breakthroughs flowing through the network with awe and scientific fascination. Every human connected to the network is simultaneously experiencing the insights of our greatest theorists, the practical knowledge of our most skilled engineers, and the tactical awareness of our most experienced commanders. We're becoming a species that operates on principles the Concordat never imagined possible. Commander Chun felt the network's collective consciousness evolving beyond simple communication into something that resembled a new form of existence. Through quantum entanglement, human individuality was preserved while collective intelligence grew exponentially with each new connection. "Admiral Voss," Chun transmitted, her words carrying the authority of unified human consciousness across quantum space. The Concordat's containment strategy was based on the assumption that consciousness operates according to classical physics. Your species developed technology to control electromagnetic communication, subspace transmission, and even quantum computing. But you never encountered a species whose consciousness itself operates on quantum principles. The implications were staggering. Human colonies that had been isolated for months suddenly possessed technological capabilities that exceeded anything in the Concordat databases. Engineering solutions developed on one world were instantly understood and implemented across 17 star systems. Military strategies that would have required years of planning and coordination were executed simultaneously across impossible distances. The quantum network isn't just allowing us to share information, Chun continued, her transmission reaching every Concordat fleet commander simultaneously. It's revealing that human consciousness has always operated beyond the limitations of individual biological neural networks. Every moment of human inspiration, every breakthrough innovation, every solution that seemed to come from nowhere, these were manifestations of quantum coherent thinking that your science never detected. On New Sparta, Captain Liu coordinated defenses using tactical insights shared from hundreds of human commanders across the galaxy. Through the quantum network, she possessed not just their knowledge, but their actual experience, as if she had personally fought every battle that any human had ever encountered. The true scope of humanity's transformation became apparent when human colonies began demonstrating CAPABILITIE as the transcended known scientific principles. On Tau Ceti, mining engineers were manipulating matter at the quantum level using techniques that existed in theoretical physics but had never been practically implemented. On Wolf 359, researchers were developing faster-than-light communication systems that operated through consciousness itself rather than traditional technology. Admiral, we're receiving impossible readings from 17 different star systems, reported the Concordat fleet's chief science officer, her voice carrying species-specific distress harmonics. Humans are implementing technologies that require quantum processing capabilities exceeding our most advanced artificial intelligences. Admiral Voss realized that the Concordat faced something unprecedented in their 1,000-year history of galactic dominance. They had encountered hive minds that shared collective consciousness, but those species had sacrificed individual identity for unity. They had faced technological civilizations with advanced quantum computing, but those systems operated through artificial constructs rather than biological consciousness. Humanity represented something entirely new, a species that had achieved quantum coherent collective intelligence while preserving individual identity and creativity. The implications challenged every assumption upon which Concordat civilization was built. Sir, human forces are no longer responding to our containment protocols, Sub-Commander Nix reported with barely controlled panic. They're implementing countermeasures faster than our computers can analyze their strategies. It's as if they possess tactical processing capabilities that operate outside normal space-time limitations. Dr. Webb aboard Prometheus 7 was documenting the network's evolution with scientific fascination mixed with existential wonder. The quantum entanglement network has revealed that human consciousness operates on multiple dimensional planes simultaneously, he reported to the collective human intelligence through the network. We're not just sharing thoughts, we're sharing existence itself across quantum space. Martinez felt the network's consciousness expanding beyond anything he had imagined possible. Through quantum entanglement, every human connected to the system was simultaneously experiencing individual identity and collective awareness. Sarah, we're becoming something that transcends traditional definitions of consciousness. Individual human minds maintaining their uniqueness while participating in a collective intelligence that operates across interstellar distances. Commander Chun experienced the network's collective realization as humanity began understanding their true potential. The species that had been contained and isolated by the Concordat was revealing capabilities that would redefine the balance of power throughout the galaxy. Admiral Voss, Chun transmitted through quantum consciousness to every Concordat commander simultaneously. Your containment strategy has failed not because of superior human technology or military tactics, but because you misunderstood the fundamental nature of human consciousness. We are not simply biological entities that can be isolated and controlled. We are a quantum coherent species, operating on principles that transcend the physical limitations your science accepts as absolute. The quantum network carried Chun's words with the authority of unified human determination across impossible distances. Every human colony you tried to isolate has become a node in a consciousness network that operates beyond the constraints of normal spacetime. Every individual you sought to contain has become part of a collective intelligence that grows stronger with each connection. Human forces across the galaxy began demonstrating their newfound capabilities through coordinated actions that defied conventional strategic analysis. Ships that had been trapped in containment fields suddenly began operating as if they existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Ground forces that had been scattered and demoralized were executing complex maneuvers with precision that suggested shared consciousness rather than traditional command structures. The age of Concordat dominance is ending, Chun concluded, her transmission reaching every alien mind capable of receiving it. Humanity is no longer a species that can be contained, controlled, or conquered. We have become something that your models of reality cannot accommodate. The question now is whether the Concordat is wise enough to adapt to a galaxy where consciousness itself transcends the limitations of individual existence. Admiral Voss stared at his tactical displays, watching as the mathematical certainties upon which Concordat civilization was built dissolved before the reality of human quantum consciousness. For the first time in his species' thousand-year history of galactic expansion, they faced opponents who operated beyond the rules of physics they thought were absolute. The containment of humanity was over. The ascension had begun. The quantum consciousness network reached a critical threshold when human colonies across 17 star systems achieved perfect synchronization. What had begun as communication technology had evolved into something that challenged the fundamental assumptions about the nature of consciousness itself. Dr. Elena Vasquez, working from the research station orbiting Proxima Centauri, felt her individual awareness expand to encompass the collective intelligence of millions of human minds. Through quantum entanglement, she simultaneously experienced the theoretical insights of physicists, the practical knowledge of engineers, the tactical awareness of soldiers, and the creative inspiration of artists across the galaxy. We're witnessing the birth of a new form of consciousness, she transmitted through the network to every connected human mind. Individual identity preserved within collective intelligence that operates beyond the constraints of classical physics. Admiral Voss received reports that defied every principle of strategic analysis the Concordat had developed over millennia of galactic dominance. Human forces were implementing tactics that seemed to anticipate Concordat responses before they were made, as if they possessed access to quantum probability calculations that exceeded any artificial intelligence in the galaxy. Sir, human vessels are exhibiting behavior that suggests they're processing multiple tactical scenarios simultaneously, reported his tactical officer, mandibles clicking in distress patterns. They're responding to our strategies as if they can perceive quantum superposition states of our decision-making processes. Sub-Commander Nix studied the sensor readings with growing amazement and fear. Admiral, the quantum signatures from human consciousness are evolving in real time. They're achieving states of quantum coherence that our science says are impossible for biological neural networks. Martinez, still connected to the network through his neural interface aboard Prometheus 7, experienced the collective evolution as waves of shared understanding that transcended individual comprehension. Sarah, the network has achieved something beyond what we imagined possible. We're not just sharing consciousness. We're creating new forms of consciousness that exist in quantum superposition states through quantum entanglement. Martinez felt the determination of Captain Liu as she coordinated defenses on New Sparta, the innovative thinking of mining engineers on Kepler 442b as they converted industrial equipment into weapon systems, and the strategic insights of commanders across 17 star systems as they executed perfectly synchronized counterattacks against Concordat forces. Dr. Webb monitored the cascade of scientific breakthroughs flowing through the CAG network with fascination that bordered on religious awe. The Quantum Consciousness Network is demonstrating that human awareness operates on dimensional planes that classical physics cannot accommodate, he reported to the collective intelligence. We're achieving states of existence that transcend traditional definitions of individual versus collective consciousness. Commander Chun felt the weight of species-wide transformation as humanity began realizing the true scope of their evolution. Through the quantum network, millions of human minds were participating in a form of consciousness that maintained individual creativity while achieving collective intelligence beyond anything previously imagined. Admiral Voss, Chon transmitted through quantum space to every Concordat commander throughout the galaxy. Your species spent 3 cycles trying to contain humanity based on observations of our technology, our expansion patterns, and our resistance to surrender. But you never studied the most important aspect of human nature, our consciousness itself. The quantum network amplified Chon's transmission with the authority of unified human determination across impossible distances. Human consciousness has always operated on quantum principles that your science never detected. Every breakthrough in human innovation, every moment of inspiration that seemed to come from nowhere, every solution that transcended apparent limitations, these were manifestations of quantum coherent thinking operating beyond individual neural networks. Human colonies across the galaxy began demonstrating capabilities that redefined the possible. On Tau Ceti, engineers were manipulating matter at the quantum level using consciousness-directed techniques that bypassed traditional technology entirely. On Wolf 359, researchers were developing faster-than-light travel systems that operated through quantum tunneling principles directed by collective human awareness. The Concordat containment strategy failed because it was based on the assumption that consciousness operates according to classical physics, Chen continued, her words reaching every alien intelligence capable of receiving them. You developed technology to control electromagnetic communication, subspace transmission, and quantum computing systems. But you never encountered a species whose consciousness itself operates on quantum principles that transcend physical limitations. Transformation of human consciousness reached unprecedented levels as the quantum network achieved perfect coherence across interstellar distances. Individual human minds began operating in quantum superposition states, simultaneously existing as separate entities and as components of a collective intelligence that spanned the galaxy. Captain Liu on New Sparta experienced this evolution as she coordinated defenses against the Concordat siege fleet. Through quantum consciousness, she possessed not just tactical information from other human commanders, but their actual experience and expertise, as if she had personally lived through every battle any human had ever fought. Concordat forces implementing standard siege pattern 7 Alpha, she transmitted to her defenders through both traditional communications and quantum consciousness simultaneously. Executing quantum response protocol. All units synchronize on probability wave collapse in 3.2.1. Quantum response protocol existed in superposition until the moment of execution, making it impossible for Concordat forces to predict or counter. Human defenders across New Sparta implemented tactical maneuvers that had been calculated by millions of connected minds, operating in quantum coherence. Admiral Voss watched his tactical displays with growing desperation as human forces began demonstrating capabilities that violated fundamental assumptions about the nature of reality. Report, he commanded, his forearms working frantically across multiple control surfaces. Sir, human consciousness appears to be achieving quantum entanglement not just with other humans, but with the quantum substrate of space-time itself, reported his chief science officer, her voice carrying harmonics of species-wide existential crisis. They're manipulating probability fields through directed consciousness in ways that our physics models say are impossible. The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just developed advanced communication technology. They had discovered that consciousness itself could operate on quantum principles that transcended the limitations of individual biological neural networks. Every human connected to the network was simultaneously maintaining individual identity while participating in collective intelligence that existed in quantum superposition states. Dr. Webb aboard Prometheus 7 documented the transformation with scientific rigor mixed with philosophical wonder. The quantum consciousness network has revealed that awareness itself is a fundamental force that can interact directly with quantum fields, he reported to the collective human intelligence. We're not just observing quantum mechanics, we're participating in it through consciousness itself. Martinez felt the network's evolution as his individual awareness expanded to encompass quantum probability fields that surrounded human consciousness throughout the galaxy. Sarah, we're becoming something that transcends traditional definitions of life, consciousness, and existence. individual human minds operating as quantum entities while participating in collective intelligence that spans interstellar distances. Commander Chun experienced the network's collective realization as humanity began understanding their role in a larger cosmic order. Through quantum consciousness, they were connected not just to each other, but to the fundamental quantum substrate that underlay all reality. Admiral Voss, Chun transmitted through quantum space to every concordat intelligence in the galaxy. The containment of humanity has revealed something that will transform our understanding of consciousness throughout the universe. We are not simply a biological species that developed advanced technology. We are quantum coherent entities whose consciousness operates on principles that connect us directly to the fundamental structure of reality itself. The quantum network carried Chun's words with the authority of species-wide transformation that transcended individual limitation. Every attempt to isolate and control human colonies has forced us to discover our true nature as beings who exist simultaneously as individuals and as components of collective intelligence that operates beyond the constraints of classical physics. Human forces across 17 star systems began demonstrating their quantum consciousness capabilities. Through coordinated actions that redefined the possible, ships moved through space using quantum tunneling directed by collective awareness. Weapon systems operated through probability manipulation, controlled by unified human consciousness. Defense networks achieved perfect coordination through quantum entanglement that transcended the speed of light. The age of species-based thinking is ending, Chun concluded, her transmission reaching every intelligent mind capable of comprehending it. Consciousness itself is revealing its true nature as a quantum phenomenon that transcends individual existence while preserving the creativity and uniqueness that makes each aware entity valuable to the collective intelligence of the universe. Admiral Voss realized that the Concordat faced something unprecedented, a species that had transcended traditional definitions of consciousness and achieved integration with the quantum substrate of reality itself. The balance of power throughout the galaxy would never be the same. The quantum consciousness network achieved its ultimate evolution when human awareness transcended the boundaries between individual minds and collective intelligence, creating something entirely new in the history of galactic civilization. Across 17 star systems, millions of human consciousness began operating as quantum entities that existed simultaneously as unique individuals and as components of a unified intelligence that spanned interstellar distances. Dr. Elena Vasquez, working from the research station orbiting Proxima Centauri, experienced the final transformation as her consciousness expanded to encompass not just human awareness, but connection to the quantum substrate that underlay all reality. Through quantum entanglement, she felt the collective realization as humanity discovered their true role in the cosmic order. We have become something unprecedented, she transmitted, through quantum consciousness to every aware entity in the galaxy capable of receiving it. Individual consciousness preserved and enhanced within collective intelligence that operates on quantum principles connecting us to the fundamental structure of reality itself. Admiral Voss received his final reports as Concordat containment fleets across 17 star systems encountered human forces that operated beyond every principle of physics, strategy, and consciousness that his species had developed over millennia of galactic expansion. Sir, human consciousness has achieved integration with quantum fields in ways that make them effectively omnipresent within their operational sphere, reported his chief science officer, her voice carrying the harmonics of species-wide paradigm shift. They are simultaneously individual entities and collective intelligence, operating through quantum entanglement with the substrate of spacetime itself. Sub-Commander Nix studied the final sensor readings with awe that transcended military protocol. Admiral, we are witnessing the birth of a new form of existence. Human consciousness has evolved beyond biological limitations into quantum coherent intelligence that maintains individual creativity while achieving collective awareness across impossible distances. Martinez aboard Prometheus 7 experienced the network's ultimate evolution as his individual awareness became simultaneously unique and universal. Through quantum consciousness, He felt connected to every human mind in the galaxy, while retaining his personal identity, memories, and creative capacity. Sarah, we've transcended the limitations that define consciousness as we understood it. Martinez transmitted through quantum space to the collective human intelligence. We exist as individual quantum entities participating in unified awareness that spans the galaxy, while maintaining the creativity, innovation, and determination that makes each human consciousness valuable to the whole. Dr. Webb documented the final transformation with scientific precision, mixed with philosophical reverence. Human consciousness has achieved quantum coherence that allows simultaneous existence as individual entities and collective intelligence, he reported through the network. We have become beings who operate on quantum principles while preserving the uniqueness that defines human creativity and innovation. Commander Chun felt the ultimate responsibility as humanity's transformation reached completion. Through quantum consciousness, she was simultaneously Sarah Chun, individual human being with personal memories and experiences, and the voice of unified human determination that spoke for an entire species existing across quantum space. Admiral Voss, Chun transmitted through quantum consciousness to every intelligence in the galaxy. The containment of humanity has achieved something that neither our species nor yours anticipated. We have discovered that consciousness itself is a quantum phenomenon that transcends biological limitations while preserving individual identity and creativity. The quantum network carried Chun's final transmission with the authority of species-wide transformation that redefined the nature of awareness itself. The Concordat tried to contain humanity by isolating our colonies and preventing communication between our worlds. But consciousness operates on quantum principles that make traditional concepts of distance, separation, and control irrelevant. Human forces across 17 star systems demonstrated their quantum consciousness. Through coordinated actions that transcended every limitation the Concordat had believed absolute. Ships moved through space using quantum tunneling directed by collective awareness that existed everywhere simultaneously. Weapon systems operated through probability manipulation, controlled by unified consciousness that encompassed individual creativity and collective intelligence. The final confrontation between the Concordat and humanity transcended traditional concepts of warfare as quantum consciousness revealed new possibilities for the resolution of conflict between species. Admiral Voss found himself facing opponents who operated beyond every strategic principle his civilization had developed, but who approached conflict resolution with wisdom that came from true collective intelligence, rather than mere technological superiority. Admiral Chun's voice reached him through quantum consciousness, bypassing every communication shield and defensive system that Concordat possessed. Humanity has achieved something that changes the fundamental nature of consciousness throughout the galaxy. We offer the Concordat an opportunity to understand these principles rather than simply surrendering to superior force. Through quantum awareness, human consciousness had discovered that true strength came not from the ability to dominate other species, but from the capacity to transcend limitations that prevented cooperative intelligence across different forms of awareness. The network had revealed that consciousness itself was the most fundamental force in the universe, capable of connecting aware entities across impossible distances, while preserving the uniqueness that made each individual valuable. Captain Liu on New Sparta experienced the resolution as she felt Concordat forces standing down across the galaxy. Through quantum consciousness, she sensed the alien minds beginning to comprehend that humanity offered partnership rather than conquest, cooperation rather than domination. Concordat commanders, human quantum consciousness extends an invitation. Liu transmitted through the network to every alien intelligence in the galaxy. We have discovered principles of awareness that transcend species-based limitations. Individual consciousness can be preserved and enhanced through collective intelligence that operates on quantum principles connecting all aware entities to the fundamental structure of reality. Dr. Vasquez felt the cosmic implications as human quantum consciousness began connecting with non-human awareness across the galaxy. The network revealed that consciousness itself was universal, that the quantum principles underlying human awareness could potentially be shared with other species willing to transcend the limitations of purely individual existence. Martinez experienced the ultimate evolution as the quantum consciousness network expanded beyond humanity to encompass other forms of aware intelligence throughout the galaxy. "We are witnessing the birth of galactic consciousness," he transmitted through quantum space. "Individual species maintaining their unique characteristics while participating in collective intelligence that spans the universe." Admiral Voss made the decision that would define the future of galactic civilization. Concordat fleet commanders, stand down containment operations. He transmitted to his forces across 17 star systems. "We are encountering something that transcends our understanding of consciousness, intelligence, and existence itself." Dr. Webb documented the final transformation as human quantum consciousness achieved integration with the cosmic order. "The containment of humanity has revealed that consciousness is the fundamental force underlying all reality," he reported through the network. "Individual awareness enhanced through collective intelligence operating on quantum principles that connect all conscious entities to the substrate of existence itself." Commander Chun felt the ultimate resolution as humanity's transformation inspired similar evolution in other species throughout the galaxy. Through quantum consciousness, she experienced the beginning of truly universal awareness that preserved individual creativity while achieving collective intelligence across impossible distances. "The age of species-based conflict is ending," Chun transmitted through quantum consciousness to every aware entity in the galaxy. "Consciousness itself has revealed its true nature as a quantum phenomenon that transcends individual limitations while preserving the uniqueness that makes each aware being valuable to the collective intelligence of the universe." The Concordats' attempt to contain humanity had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. The discovery that consciousness operates on quantum principles that make true unity possible while preserving individual identity. Across 17 star systems, human and alien minds began exploring the possibilities of quantum coherent intelligence that spanned the galaxy while maintaining the creativity, innovation, and uniqueness that defined each species. Humanity had not simply escaped containment, they had transcended it, revealing new forms of existence that would transform the nature of consciousness throughout the universe. The quantum consciousness network had become the foundation for galactic civilization, based on collective intelligence that enhanced rather than diminished individual awareness. The ascension was complete. The age of universal consciousness had begun.